welcome to another episode of Analog Recess. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Tommy.
And today we're going to be talking about our top 5 movies of all time, 1980 through 1985.
Correct.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Okay, so my top 5. So this was a tough subject, like we just said. There's so many movies within that time period. I had it down to 85 movies to choose 5.
Man, it's the greatest 5-year stretch of movies in Hollywood history, in my opinion. But, I mean, I think a lot of people would tend to agree on this.
Number 5, I had The Outsiders.
Love it.
Fantastic movie.
Yep.
Premiered in 83.
Yep.
Written by S.E. Hinton.
Mm-hmm. Great writer.
She wrote it, started writing it at the age of 15.
I know.
16, and it was published when she was 17 years old. By the way, SE stands for Susan Eloise. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and the film takes place in 1965. Which this was also one of those movies that had a mega cast. Huge,
Mega.
Beautiful cast.
How much money would Hollywood have to pay for that cast today?
You had Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Ralph Macchio, Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, Matt Dillon, Diane Lane. And then you had a couple, Leif Garrett at the time was really a big name. He was really...
My sister thought he was dreamy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he played the bad guy. He was actually a really good dick in that movie.
He was.
Until he got murdered.
That was a good scene, by the way.
Yeah.
The blood pooling around in the fountain.
Johnny was such a lovable character.
Oh,
I think Ralph Macchio, Johnny, and Matt Dillon's Dallas was by far the best 2 characters in that movie. They kind of stole the show. So there was a couple of small cameos as well. Sofia Coppola, who's a famous director now, Francis Ford Coppola's
Director.
like 7 years old when she made the cameo. She was talking to Matt Dillon in one scene.
Yeah.
Tom Waits was in that movie. He made a small cameo.
Yeah.
Flea as well made a small cameo. Other people that were up for the roles, Val Kilmer was offered the role of Pony Boy.
I could see that, actually.
Yeah. Scott Baio, which...
I could see that.
Yeah, for sure, Scott Baio. And Brooke Shields turned down the role of Cherry Valance for that movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
The body count in that movie was only 3. Do you know who they were?
Well, I know that Leif Garrett's 1.
Yep.
Macchio dies in that. He burns down. And then who's the third?
Matt Dillon.
Oh!
Very last part of the movie.
Yeah.
Gets shot by the cops.
Got it. Cool.
So that was number 5. My number 4.
Copy.
This is kind of cheesy. I was really young, but it was a fantasy movie that I really loved as a kid.
Oh.
You were a little too old for it.
I don't know. Tell me what it is. I probably saw it.
The Never-Ending Story.
I was.
Yeah.
But it was a great movie.
Yeah.
I had my friends, little brothers and stuff, and so I sat through it a couple times. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. I liked it.
I
good cast.
Yeah.
Good acting. Yep.
Came out in 1984. It was written by Wolfgang Peterson, who did Perfect Storm and Troy.
Yeah.
It was one of his basically his first movie that made mainstream into USA. Steven Spielberg helped edit that movie too as well, so you can kind of see that
fingerprints.
Final cut. Yeah. It was based off a book written by Michael Ende. There were some Easter eggs in Never-Ending Story as well. In the scene in the Ivory Tower at the beginning, Spielberg threw in some very small hidden cameos. Mickey Mouse was there, Gumby, E.T., the Ewoks, C-3PO, Yoda, and Chewbacca all made a little cameo.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
The movie itself too had some like dark points to it. The scene where Artax, which was Atreyu's horse, there was a drowning scene, and as a kid, it was just very traumatic to me.
That was like the kid movies back in the day. There was a bunch of them that were like, this is death.
And then the title song for that movie,
Never-Ending
was
Story.
a huge song, and
It was big.
actually made a comeback recently.
Did it really?
In 2016, Stranger Things brought it out.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
The last scene of season 3. Dustin and his girlfriend sang that.
Oh, that's right.
Very cute moment.
It was.
That was nice. And so now number 3, The Goonies came out in 1985. It was directed by Richard Donner, who you love.
I love Donner.
Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, he did Superman. And him and Spielberg were both in this movie. They also did Gremlins together, so you'll see a lot of
Man,
ties.
I love Gremlins.
Yeah.
Love it.
There's an Easter egg in Goonies where they talk about the Gremlins in a scene with Chunk and the police, the cop, over the phone.
Yeah.
And he brought it up, but
Spielberg and Lucas did that a lot.
yeah,
A lot.
little Easter eggs, ties.
All the time.
Easter eggs now are all the rave.
Yeah.
It's fun actually.
I mean,
You know, to see
there's
them.
a billion between Raiders and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So the Goonies actually refers to saying it's a area where the poor people were in Astoria, and they were the Goondocks, so they shortened it up. And their nickname was the Goonies. Andy, she was just at that time she was everything.
She was the one married to Keanu Reeves in Parenthood?
No, that was the other one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Got it.
that was I can't remember her name. I might have to dub that in, but no, Andy she was red hair. She was in Summer Rental.
Yeah.
But I had a huge crush on her.
Who didn't?
Right.
Mm.
The pirate ship. Actually, they put together that pirate ship for the movie, so it was
They did.
a real pirate ship.
It was.
And after the film was wrapped, they offered it to anybody that would take it. No one wanted it, so it was scrapped. This was tough. My top two can go either way. So Back to the Future, 1985.
God, I love that movie.
Right?
I know, though, I could recite the entire movie like verbatim, basically.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Love it.
Written by Robert Zemeckis and
Gremlins.
Bob Gale. Yeah.
Gremlins.
Robert Zemeckis also did Forrest Gump, which was one of probably his biggest movie. It was super popular. Michael J. Fox, when he played Marty McFly, he was 22 at that time.
He was?
So he was a little bit of an older teenager. He wasn't the first choice. I mean, he was the first choice, but he wasn't casted as the first choice.
Because he had a TV show going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when they were doing the casting, they wanted Michael J. Fox, but because he was in Family Ties at the time, producers were like, no way. He told Spielberg, he's like, no way, you can't have him. So then they casted
Eric Stoltz.
Eric Stoltz. He actually shooted for 6 weeks.
Dude, they had. I've seen the role.
Yeah.
Like they had. It's funny to see him doing the same lines as Michael J. Fox. Granted that it's like it's B-roll, so the film is grainy
Right.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's wearing the same outfit,
Yep.
doing the same scene with Doc and
Yeah.
everything else. I'm like, whoa, that's
There's-
kind of strange.
There's even small moments in the movie where they do a brief cut and it's Eric Stoltz. They didn't do a retake
Right. Yeah.
with Michael J. Fox. After 6 weeks of shooting, Zemeckis and Spielberg didn't feel that Stoltz was Marty. So
he wasn't.
they fired him. Others considered for the role of Marty McFly were Johnny Depp, C. Thomas Howell,
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio,
Yeah.
John Cusack, and Charlie Sheen. But
Charlie Sheen.
yeah, no one would have played it as good as Michael J.
No.
Fox. He
owned
was
it.
Marty McFly for sure.
He is.
Yeah. And there was Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, who
Yeah.
was awesome. But other people were mentioned for the role of Doc Brown. John Lithgow was up there.
I could see that actually.
Yeah,
I could
Jeff
see that.
Goldblum, kind of.
Totally do
He
not.
was
see
young
that.
at that time, so I wouldn't be able to see
Dude,
that.
he was. Yeah, that sounds ridiculous.
And then James Woods.
He was young too.
Yeah. So in the movie, everybody knows a lot of. That's one of the movies you can quote. Like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Karate Kid, you can just rap out
All day
sayings
long.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of them was 1.21 gigawatts.
Yep.
It's not actually a gigawatt; it's a gigawatt.
It's a gigawatt.
1.21 gigawatts of electricity.
1.21 gigawatts!
And then I thought this was kind of a fun fact: the bum that was on the bench, the bus stop bench at the end, in '85.
Yeah.
He was the guy who ran for mayor in 1955. Same guy.
So he put him out of work.
Yeah. So he didn't get elected
Mayor!
Exactly. Not that guy.
Not
The white guy. Yeah.
the guy who lost.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. There's a
Okay.
scene in 1955 where there's this truck along with, vote for me. So
Yeah, Yeah, right.
That white dude was the bum later on. So I was like,
Fascinating.
man, that's a good little Easter egg that not a lot of people know.
A nugget, as I like
Yeah.
to call
There
it.
was a lot of Easter eggs,
Nugget.
like I said. Like there's a scene in the beginning where he goes to the mall to visit Doc when he first, introduced the DeLorean.
Yeah.
It was the Twin Pines Mall. But when he went back in time, he crashed through one of those two pines. So when he went back, it was the Lone Pine Mall. So those were just the little subtleties that not a lot of
Loved
people
it.
picked up on.
Yeah.
But it was great. Yeah.
I have an interesting trivia point. Remember the Under the Sea dance?
Yeah, Enchantment Under the Sea.
Enchantment Under the Sea. And what year was it? So the Enchantment Under the Sea dance is 1955. He's playing, the guitar that he's playing is what's over his shoulder. That's basically a copy of a Gibson 335. Granted, the one that he was playing was red. But what's funny is that guitar hadn't been invented yet until 1959.
See, there's little things like that in movies, which I love.
Hadn't even been invented. The 335 hadn't even been invented yet. But
Nice.
so guitarists love pointing that out. Like, wow, it is Back to the Future. He took a guitar from another year and went back with it.
He brought it.
He brought a guitar back. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Now, number one. As a kid,
yeah.
what kid did not like the Star Wars franchises?
No.
But me, I was at that age in 1983 where Return of the Jedi it was my jam. It was such a good movie to me at the time. Who didn't want to be a Jedi? Return of the Jedi came in May 25th, 1983.
It did.
Directed by Richard Marquand. He died 4 years after making that movie. Yeah. Originally, Lucas wanted Spielberg was to direct, but because of the Directors Guild, which Lucas dropped out
He
over
did.
discussions with Empire Strikes Back.
So did Scorsese did too.
Yeah.
They haven't been in 40 years, 30 years. Yeah.
So Spielberg didn't do it. The original title was going to be Revenge of the Jedi, but a lot of
Jedi don't
people-
do revenge.
Exactly. Return of the Jedi was set 1 year after the events of Empire Strikes Back.
It was.
As opposed, which is a closer gap because it was a 2-year or 3-year distance between Star Wars
And Return.
and Empires.
Or Star Wars and Empire, right? Yeah.
One of my favorite things growing up and watching that movie. I mean, obviously the toys and all that stuff have it.
Yeah.
But Princess Leia in that bikini was, man. When you're a kid and you see, she was just so beautiful in that movie. And
Cool cosplay.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, right.
Right.
But and I heard like when they made the costume for her, it wasn't like fit right, so she would have a lot of wardrobe malfunctions, which had to have been fun
It
for
happens.
the camera guys.
Sure.
The scene with Princess Leia in the barge
Sure.
where she's strangling Jabba the Hutt with
Yeah.
with the chain. That was actually an homage to Luca Brazzi's
Totally
Chosen
see it.
in
Absolutely.
Godfather, which actually Lucas was an assistant editor of the Godfather.
He was. Well, they all ran together.
Yeah.
So
And I thought this was fun. The TIE fighter, everyone knows what a TIE fighter
Mm-hmm.
is. The TIE actually refers to something, it's called the twin ion engine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Little
Okay.
fun
I thought that is a fun fact.
Yeah. And then the Rancor, which was in Jabba's palate, where like people would fall and that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
monster-
Creature would eat 'em.
Yeah. The sounds the Rancor made, and this is just close to my heart, but they were actually made by a dachshund. So,
Mm-hmm. Oh.
yeah.
Like your ink.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
So
Wiener dog.
Yeah. Yes, that was my top 5. I do have some honorable mentions. I'm just
Sure,
gonna blow
name 'em.
through real quick. I had Rocky 4. I love that one. Karate Kid. That's
Oh, yeah.
up there for sure. 1984.
Go Johnny.
Yeah, right.
Team Johnny over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Sweep the leg. The Last Starfighter, which was
was good.
1984.
I like that.
Empire Strikes Back. I was really young, but that was that's probably on
Well,
your
you
list.
mentioned that. We just talked about it.
No, Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
Weird Science was another good one.
yeah.
a
Wait a
good,
second. That was 85?
Yeah, that was 1985.
The soundtracks of all those high school movies, which I thought was really fun, in particular the California ones. So like that, Back to School, Summer School, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, also in the 80s.
Phoebe Cates.
Phoebe Cates. The Oingo Boingo was like everywhere. But we'll talk about that in another video.
That was my top 5. We'll get into Tommy's top 5 here in a second.
Sure.
but because we're talking about soundtracks. Tommy, why don't you tell me about your guitar you got here today?
So this guitar, very 80s, kind of like flashy yellow, was a wonderful gift that my dear friend from grade school here in town, Scott Horton, sent me after we went to over his shoulder right over there, is autograph poster, Steve Vai. Got to meet him after the show backstage, and my friend, I did some finagling at the t-shirt area to buy shirts and stuff, and while I was talking to these really nice 2 young men, they're like, "Oh, Steve's our dad, Mr. Vai." I'm like, "Oh my God, can you get us backstage?" They're like, "Yeah, absolutely." So it was a really, really great experience, and Steve Vai is Started off with Frank Zappa in the 80s, in the actually late 70s. Really broke through with being the guitarist when David Lee Roth left Van Halen and went solo. The guitarist in David Lee Roth's solo band, the Skyscraper and Eat 'Em and Smile, was Steve Vai. And this is his signature guitar, Ibanez. Killer guitar. I modded it to make it more for me with purple caps, and these two pickups here are DiMarzio Evolution pickups. Some DiMarzio electronics too. But thank you, Scott. Really great gift, and I play it when I can, and especially with 80s tunes, I always grab this. This is a good shredding.
This guitar reminds me like if the Joker in the Batman was gonna play guitar.
You know what? I like that one. When I posted this in some forums on social media, and somebody said, "Oh my God, that guitar is sick! Just the colors of the LA Lakers." I'm like, what the fuck? It is the color.
Being a Suns fan,
Dude!
No!
I'm a Suns fan. Orange, man. I'm like, now I can't unsee it because of that guy.
Yeah.
But it's still cool looking.
Yeah.
God, I hate the color. No,
Yeah.
I love the colors. I love purple. So that's half of the Suns colors, purple.
So we'll throw in a little bit of Tommy playing at the end of this.
LBB roll at the
as
end.
the credits roll.
I thought I'd just kind of show off this kind of 80s shred machine signature Steve Vai from David Lee Roth, and then Steve Vai played with. So the first time I saw Steve Vai, Scott actually saw him on the Eat 'Em and Smile tour back in high school. I didn't see that tour. I was still like, David Lee Roth, you're a traitor for leaving Van Halen. I will never love you again. Even though I'm a Roth guy.
Then it went to Van Hagar.
I like Van Hagar. If they didn't have every title of the song with the word love in it, that would be better. But other than that, and then, so I saw Steve Vai when he left David Lee Roth to play with Whitesnake. And it was him and Adrian Vandenberg, and they were the opening act for Motley Crue on the Girls tour.
Nice.
And great show. So, and he played a yellow, this is called a monkey grip that he kind of invented. And so I fell in love with that guitar. I will own you one day. So, ta-da. Thank you, Scott. My movies, let's see. I'm going to go with Empire Strikes Back. Manly movie. That's how you do a Star Wars movie. Revenge, brutality. It was very adult, coming off of like A New Hope, which was kind of yay, blood. Right. And this one seemed much more visceral, and the special effects were just off the hook on that one. My God. The sword fight scene at the end, Luke, you're my father.
Yeah.
My buddies and I already knew about that ending, though, because we were all up to date on the books. Mm-hmm. And it was the book Splinter in the Mind's Eye, where they announced in that book, before Empire Strikes Back came out, that Darth Vader told Luke that he was his father. So we knew that going into the movie.
Spoiler alert.
It kind of was before internet and stuff. It was when you were a little kid, you're like reading the book, you're like, there's no way they're going to put that. There's no way this is canon, that they're going to put this in the movie, that this is going to be Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. We just thought they were two, like one book was, the book series was going one way and the movie series. No, they basically, page for page was the script that we were reading, and I can't believe that they let that kind of get out or something. But anyway.
It was cool, those movies, like, that movie kind of, for me, started the genre where, like, you watch a whole movie and then at the end you're like,
oh yeah,
what?
Cliffhanger?
Yeah,
that was
holy cow.
No, that was that. I didn't think about that. You're absolutely right. That was the first cliffhanger movie I ever had.
Yeah.
Because A New Hope felt like it was concluded.
Yeah.
Like Death Star's blown up.
Yeah, they threw the medallions.
Darth Vader goes spinning off into space, and
everybody got a medallion.
Everyone gets medals at the
except
end.
Chewbacca didn't get one. That was a bummer.
WLM.
What?
Wookiees Lives Matter, man.
Oh yeah, exactly. Come on, give Chewbacca a freaking medal,
Wookiees.
man.
Back to the Future we talked about. I completely agree with that one. Empire Strikes Back.
Number what?
Those are probably my 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Those are 1 and 2.
So number 3.
Risky Business, number 3. I was a freshman in high school. That was the movie.
Great movie.
The movie. Every single dude imitated Tom Cruise in boxers and Ray-Bans with
that white top button up.
Yeah, with good old rock and roll playing in the background by Bob Seger. Great soundtrack, killer.
Risky Business soundtrack. Tangerine Dream did a lot of it. Tangerine
Muddy
Dream
Waters
awesome.
is on that.
Yeah.
Jeff Beck's on that. It's okay. 4. Oh, Conan. Conan, huge. My buddies and I were D&D players. that soundtrack is killer. You hear it from time to time at sporting events because you just want to run through walls. That like heavy kettle drum beat. I read all the books.
Yeah.
I'm even going to nerd out a little bit more. The artwork on the front cover of all these books is incredible. It's by Frank Frazella. He's draws. You ever see the album cover to Molly Hatchet with that warrior and like that half naked lady on a rock and stuff like that? That's Frank Frazella. So he also did all the Conan covers too. And then last has got to be Road Warrior. That movie was huge. It really was. It was so big that as a kid growing up, that movie. You want to get out of here alive? You talk to me. I mean, that scene was money, and it was violent and apocalyptic, and it was so cool. And Mel Gibson was the man back then.
Oh, yeah. There was also some that we didn't list. Commando.
I was a huge Arnie guy, as you know, with Conan and whatnot. Yeah.
Indiana Jones. Terminator.
Wait Road Warrior off. Raiders on.
Yeah. Other ones in that timeline: Rambo 2.
Yeah.
Spinal Tap. Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh my God! Rewind.
This is Spinal Tap.
God damn it! Risky Business and this is Spinal Tap are two movies that are timeless forever that I can watch all the time. Yeah. So apologies.
Others on the list too, like 16 Candles, Top Secret,
Loved it.
Red Dawn,
Loved it.
Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai,
Loved it.
Dune,
Yeah.
Revenge of the Nerds,
Yeah.
Footloose,
Yeah.
Splash,
Hated it.
Police Academy,
Police
Firestarter, Mr. Mom,
Mr. Mom,
Scarface,
okay. Scarface is great. No, I said Mr. Mom was okay.
Christmas Story.
Loved.
We'll do an episode of our favorite
Holiday
Christmas
ones, yeah.
holiday movies.
Yeah.
Trading Places, love that movie.
Love it.
National Lampoons, any of the vacations.
Yeah.
War Games.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy Delirious was probably my favorite all-time stand-up comedy. You had Kroll.
Loved
you
it.
had Cujo. Poltergeist.
Oh God, I saw that movie.
Tron. Rocky 3. Beastmaster. You talked about that. The Toy.
Masturbates.
Stripes. Yeah. Richard Pryor was so funny.
They had to do that on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Time Bandits, Clash of the Titans. I love Clash of the
Me
Titans.
too.
Remember the owl?
I loved it.
Yeah.
My buddies and I, man, we saw it in the theaters. We loved it. Yeah.
Blues Brothers. Blade Runner.
God damn it.
Philip K. Dick. Yeah, I know. You keep switching up. Tommy's all over the place. I love it.
Well, no, because the movies that like kind of came to me instantly when you're telling me that that years, I'm putting myself into young Tommy.
Do some research, damn it.
Research on 300 movies. Like 300.
I did it.
Anyway, Blade Runner is easily in my top 5 and top 5 all-time movies. Director's cut.
Yeah.
Director's cut.
That is our top. I don't know. We were everywhere. That was our top movies of 80 through 85. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Go Shrimp!
Quick answer.
Yeah.
How many movies do you think you saw in the movie theater when you were working there?
Hundreds.
Did you ever sneak people in?
I did.
Yeah.
Dude, I was in high school.
Yeah.
I was trying to be popular.
Get the girls come in here.
Right this way.
Give you handies in the back.
That is not.
I know.